Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Trizzy.
And I'm Leah, LA in Flight.
We are two voices, two views, and two ways to adventure anywhere.
Yes, and in our second episode of the new year 2022, we have another destination-based episode on... Oh, for those of you that are listening, she's wearing an AFC Richmond scarf.
Yeah, and if you don't know what it is, it's basically Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Based in the UK.
The UK. And this episode, which we never said, this episode is a London episode. So I recently, in November of 2021, spent 17 days, about 2.5 weeks, working remotely and hanging out in London. And it literally was like the least touristy trip you could ever have to London. I talk about like how much I spent, what it's like with COVID and restrictions right now, like more cultural things that you would only think about a city if you were spending an extended amount of time there. Mm-hmm. And no, 17 days was not a mistake. I literally meant to go spend that amount of time in London, and it was so amazing because I got to see so many of my friends from around the country, not just the city. They came from, you know, a couple hours outside of the city as well. And so I think this episode is really makes more sense to you if you've been to London at least once. Mm-hmm. This is not really an episode if you've never been to London before, because you will have no idea what I'm talking about. Right. And I literally don't mention one famous landmark whatsoever.
No touristy things. Because basically you went there, and one of the cool things that you did was just work remote. And I know a lot of people right now who's working remote. Mm-hmm. And I mean, given the circumstances that we are in, they hopefully will look to, you know, work remote in London, like wherever else.
Yeah, well, and Wombats, the first hostel I stayed in, gives you a digital nomad discount if you're staying between 8 and 28 days. So I was able to apply that to my stay because I was there for the first 10 days. So I got a little bit of a discount by booking direct. And yeah, this was a special episode because it felt so much, it was just so much different. It was so non-touristy. And as you'll hear, I did go and surprise one of my best friends for her 30th birthday. She wouldn't pick up the phone for a day and a half. So I sent her a TikTok video of me in front of the Tower Bridge. Shout out to you, Kate. But, you know, we finally figured it out. Mm-hmm. Had help from other friends on the ground, and it was just great. Honestly, Trizzy was asking me this before the camera started rolling, but like I could live in this city.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I can see you in that city too.
Yeah. There's just so much to do. There's always something going on, and it's just so easy to get everywhere. Like we're obsessed with public transport. If you don't know us already, we're obsessed with public transportation. Because it doesn't exist here in LA. And so when we can get to places that have it, we utilize it, and then we rave about it and cry when we come back home.
I know. Damn. Back to driving.
But
behind the wheels.
Yeah. And I mean, every single day I went to a different coffee shop. I'm not even kidding.
Damn.
I know.
Nice. That's your thing.
But this isn't any London coffee today. No. I'm just having just a standard Pete's coffee with some oat milk. I don't even know the brand. It's just like generic.
Yeah. Something basic.
Yeah. But what about your tea?
Keep it simple. My tea is simple too. I just have like a regular chamomile going on. Mm-hmm. It's sleepy time. I've been very stressed from work. So, you know, gotta calm my mind back down.
But yes, we hope you enjoy this episode, and keep in mind, we hope this inspires you to dig a little deeper the next time you do visit London and the UK. So, cheers.
Cheers to that. Hey there, it's Trizzy and Leah, your hosts for the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. We created this travel podcast for you, who's just as obsessed with exploring the globe as we are. We each travel a different way and even have different work schedules. But every episode, we aim to widen your worldview, inspire you to consider a destination near or far, or learn from others. With us, you can adventure from anywhere.
Keep in touch with us on social media at Ticket2 Anywhere Podcast. Remember to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Never miss an episode by subscribing to Ticket 2 Anywhere Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Pocket Casts, and hit subscribe to follow our visual podcast on YouTube to keep up to date on our channel.
If you find value and enjoy our episodes and special guests, please rate us and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to us and helps others find us easier. You can also leave comments or reviews on our YouTube channel or Facebook page. Be sure to search for Ticket Number 2 Anywhere Podcast.
Take a screenshot of the episode you're currently listening to, share it on your socials, and tag us. Or send this episode to a friend if you think it'll be helpful for them. And if you'd like to support us by monetary means, you can do so by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ticket number 2 anywhere. I just spent 17 days, like almost 2.5 weeks in London, and London alone, London, England. And I meant to do that. I meant to spend that long there. It was not a mistake. I actually went to London to surprise one of my best friends, Kate, for her 30th birthday. She had no idea I was coming. I had on the ground help from our friend Polly to figure out logistics and what events I would join, etc. Kate and I met bartending in a hostel 5 years ago, so we celebrated her 25th birthday. It was a very different birthday from the one we had this year, but yeah, I was excited. I was like, you know what? London had just opened their borders on October 11th. And there were no countries on the red list. All of this has changed, by the way. At time of filming, it is beginning of December. All of this has changed in the past few weeks. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But yes, I purchased my flight all on Amex points as well, which was awesome. So I earned it, worked hard for it.
Exactly.
I booked the flight 3 weeks in advance, which is, you know, we talked about the end of year episode last year, all this last minute planning, which was scary. It's so unlike us and scary AF. But this was also my third time to London. So I'm feeling good about it because it's not like I've never been to the city before. This was really a trip to reconnect with all of my friends.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that it was actually only 3 months,
Right.
3 weeks in advance.
It's not like you had a lot of planning to do. Like, oh, I have to see
Right.
this tourist attraction.
Exactly. I've seen a lot of the main ones.
Gotcha.
But, you know, it's just one of those cities like LA, New York, Chicago, Paris, Tokyo. Like, it's one that you can just always keep coming back to. And you'll never get everything done.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be something new to see. So might as well just make multiple trips throughout your lifetime.
I know, right?
So I'm going to cover a lot in this episode. A lot of cool things. But from a pretty different angle, because I'm not really going to be talking about the touristy things. So if you're new to London, you're thinking about like, what must I see? This might not be right for you, but if you kind of want to know like the daily things, like what I did on the daily, what it's kind of like as a local, what it's like being there for an extended amount of time, and what's in those nooks and crannies, then this is the episode for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk first things first, getting in.
Yeah, especially during this time.
Yeah, getting to the country. So the borders open on October 11th, and the gov.uk website is actually fantastic, really easy to use. And they're like, okay, we have red list and green list countries. And click here for the red list. So I click for the red list, make sure the US is not on it.
Yeah.
And I click and it goes, there are no countries currently on the red list. So basically the UK is open. And it was slightly different, you know, Wales versus Scotland versus England. Slightly different, even though they're all the same. So how they're treating people getting in is essentially vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Since I am double vaxxed, for me, it was 2 things. You need to fill out a passenger locator form, and you have to have a negative COVID test within 2 days of arriving in the country.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. If you are unvaccinated, you have to take a test before you fly. You have to take a test on day 2. You have to take a test on day 8. And you have to fill out the passenger locator form. If you test positive for COVID, you have to do a 10-day quarantine. Yeah, so it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
To me, not worth it in my opinion. London is a very expensive city. I could never afford a decent hotel for 10 days there. That's too much money.
I will squeeze in there because Finland, we had a layover in London. So if you're wondering, for layovers, you just have to fill out the passenger locator form. Like regardless of how long you stay on your layover, you have to fill that out. So make sure That's
and snafu getting there. I missed my connecting flight at JFK in New York. That was a whole fiasco. But I had filled out the passenger locator form to arrive on November 7th. And because my flight got pushed, American Express rebooked me. I was now arriving on November 8th, and they made me refill out the passenger locator form as I was checking in. Thank God I got there 3.5 hours early because I was like, oh my gosh, I needed to go back on the website, fill out a completely new form because they're like, this literally says your old date of arrival. You need one with your new date of arrival.
Yeah.
So prepare for those. But yeah, in the country it was also interesting because I stayed in 2 hostels while I was there. The first hostel I stayed in for 10 days was Wombats. It was great. Second hostel I stayed in for only 3 nights. It was the OG St. Christopher's. St. Christopher's is a big party chain throughout Europe. But I stayed at the one St. Christopher's at the pub near Tower Bridge.
Okay.
And the second week I was there, I did develop a cough. I did test negative for COVID. I was being responsible, but I did develop a cough. And to be honest, I think it was because I was just going out too much and not resting. And I don't know how to take care of myself in that extra cold weather in London. It's very different from healing a cough in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
But even when I was coughing, people in the hostel were like very understanding.
Oh.
Because people said this twice to me. They're like, oh, I trust you. I assume that you're vaccinated if you're traveling.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, that's a very interesting thought. Because I guess it is easier, it's much easier to travel if you're vaxxed.
Right. Yeah. But what if somebody's just, they're done with their quarantine?
That's what I'm thinking too. But I was like, also, like, who has this money to be quarantining for 10, 14 days in an expensive city like London?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it felt that, I have like a nice bulleted list of all my topics. It felt that maybe only like 1/3 of people were wearing masks on public transport. Mask mandate throughout all of England was lifted in July. But people wanted to be responsible, still wear it in public crowded places. But I felt like only 1/3 of people were wearing masks on public transport. And to be honest, public transport is nasty before COVID.
Yeah.
And even now people are just like more sick and like, oh no, you're coughing. Who knows what it could be. So go to gov.uk for most updated restrictions on travel because of the new variant. Like I said, we're beginning of December filming this. Because of the new variant, there are new rules. There are now countries on the red list. So you always want to stay updated on the country that you're traveling to. Go to their government website to look at what the COVID travel restrictions are.
Yes.
Yep. So that's getting in. Fun stuff, right? The second thing, one of my favorite things, but probably boring to some other people, is talking about how much money I spent. So if you know me, you've been watching our past episodes, I like going with a total amount. I never split it by day. And then I also like trying to come home within $100 to $200 of that budget. So I told myself, I was like, okay, 17 days in London, I bet you I can do that in $3,000, in $3,000. My total ended up being, from the moment I took the Uber to the airport to depart to the moment my Uber took me back to my home in LA, $3,074.
Oh.
Which is pretty good, pretty close. However, I bought a lot of things prior to departing on this trip. And when I say things, I'm talking about like winter coats, winter boots, like classic timeless things that will last. Got my nails done, got a few different things off Amazon that felt I needed for this trip and to make a long-term stay easier.
Yeah.
And that equated to $1,046, unfortunately. So my grand total actually came out to, if you want to lump that all together, $4,120. Which is not within my goal, but if you just count the trip itself,
then
it was within goal. Yeah. So tell me what your thought, like, if you think that's a reasonable amount of expenditures, right? Anyways, that's expenses. But as we go through this episode, that's how you'll hear how I spent the money. Another cool topic, transport and cash. So Trizzy a few weeks ago talked about how Finland was completely cashless. London is the exact same. Like I withdrew cash once, £100, tried to offer it to stores and like friends, and they literally looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like their exact face was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, like it's not poison. Like you can touch it. You can touch the money. And so it's just become so cashless, which I love. 2019 was the last time I went to London. I did not have any tap cards. The US is weirdly behind in financial services than the rest of the world. Yeah. So none of my cards were tapped. They were all still chip. But I realize now on the tube, the underground, you could tap your tap card and it takes it directly from your card. So you don't even need an Oyster card anymore.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Like it's a credit, like...
Yeah, you just tap your credit card. So you don't need to buy the £5 Oyster card, which I did buy at first because I thought I needed it. Right. And then my friends in the middle of my trip, they're like, you can just tap your card, your credit card, right?
Crazy.
I know. The easiest thing ever.
Right.
So I'm out there with my American Express. Who wants a ride? Just kidding. Don't come to me for to pay your tube fare.
Yeah. Venmo her back though.
Yeah. And so most people were going contactless. They were even using their phones, which I know you like to do, like paying with like Apple Pay. But the thing is, what if you lose your phone?
Yeah. Well, I still have like, physical cards.
Physical? Yeah. I guess what my friends were doing that have it all on their phone, they're not carrying their physical cards anymore.
Oh, no. I still gotta carry my physical.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what happens when you get stranded?
Yeah, I still need my physicals with me.
Yeah. And as far as like schedule changes, I mean, London, I think one of the reasons I love it so much is because, and England in general, I mean, Europe in general, like the UK, there's so much availability of public transportation and trains and buses to get you from place to place. Yeah. And this is why most people like our age in Europe like don't ever get a license or don't find a need to drive.
So nice.
Whereas that's all we do in the US is drive. And so night trains weren't running. They were shut down due to COVID, but I think they're opening back up now.
Oh, so they had like a curfew for the trains?
Or the last train would be like at 12:45 a.m. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that would be some nights when we're out with friends who are coming from way out of town. They'd be like, I gotta catch the last train at 12:30, so I gotta bounce.
Okay.
Yeah. 50%, I'm talking still about transport and cash. I kind of lumped it together. 50% of the places I went to didn't accept American Express, but that's kind of the same in the USA. So unfortunate, but as I always say, come with multiple cards. Yeah. Yeah. And I just love the fact that it was super contactless. No one paid. Most places didn't even accept cash anymore, and I hope that the US can move to that model.
Yeah, I know.
In the
so
future.
Easy. Goodness.
Super, super easy. I think I took out like £100 with 10 days left, and it took me all 10 days to like really find places to use the money. I was like, please take my cash. Yeah.
Does London require tipping?
Okay, so this was interesting because I was telling some of my local friends this. I did go to a few places where they added a 12.5% service tip.
Oh, okay.
But that was also very new, and every restaurant would disclaim on the receipt, if you don't feel that we provide a great service, we will gladly remove this charge off your bill.
Wow.
Yeah. So whenever they automatically added it, I would just pay it. If they didn't add it, I didn't tip.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now I want to talk about food because London is, it's a big city. You can find anything you want, even the abundance of Asian food, right? But it's interesting because I think in Southern California, like I was telling someone this as a joke, but we have an abundance of Mexican food here and Asian food. And it's very easy to find, and it's almost like second nature, I guess. Like someone literally was like, okay, this Polish guy I met in London, he's like, okay, so what's like the typical American food? A typical like American cuisine besides, I guess, hamburgers and hot dogs. And I literally blurted out Mexican food. And the other American at the table next to me was like, no, that's kind of true. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's cool because in London, it's like Middle Eastern and Mediterranean food are like what Mexican food is to the U.S. So that's like their basic kind of like street food, what they can get casually. Yeah. So cool, so different. Yeah. And like how in the U.S. we'll have like a restaurant will be like, oh, new American, like that's the cuisine.
Yeah.
They'll have like modern European or like Mediterranean as like, that's like the standard, that's like a typical restaurant in London. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I ate lots of fish and chips in the city, and I was told many times don't eat fish and chips in the city.
Why is that?
Because they're like, you need to be by the ocean eating it out of newspaper, Leah. I'm like, I know, but we're not that far from the ocean. So
that's good to know.
I know. Like I mentioned in previous episodes, man, lots of places required reservations beforehand.
Okay.
We're always saying like book before, book everything you can out. Because places are also like limited on space, right? And you don't want to be caught not being able to go to one of your favorite restaurants or a show and whatnot. A lot of places you can order from the table, which is great. Yeah, like scanning QR code.
Okay.
What did you think
like,
I meant?
The table is an app that you could order.
Oh, no, it's like yeah, you can order from the table and then the server will just bring you things as you put them in, and you can like close out your bill on the table, etc.
Gotcha.
And weirdly enough, probably because of the abundance of public transport, but I ate a lot of Filipino food while I was in London.
I noticed
and
that.
You saw that.
I saw that. I was like, okay.
I'd literally like be walking, and then I'll turn and be like, what? A Filipino ramen place? What are you? You know, it'd be so random, and I think it's just because it's so much easier. Like LA is very sprawling. I live in the burbs, so it's pretty far to get to good Filipino food. Whereas like I would randomly walk by Filipino restaurants in London and be like even my first hostel, Wombats, was literally 20 feet away from a Filipino restaurant. Yeah, I went and ate there one night on my own.
What area is that?
The first hostel I stayed in, it's like near Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge.
Okay, Tower Bridge is the pretty one that everyone thinks is London Bridge, but it's
I probably
not.
saw that from the flight.
Yeah, it's the one that has like the pretty blue poles and it's like, you know, great architecture, etc. Right? But I want to talk about going out culture, which is really what I did for 17 days straight. I went out.
Yeah, you did.
I went out. I went out so hard by day 7. I was like, and I was like, oh my God, do I have COVID? The NHS free government COVID test confirmed I did not have COVID. Thank goodness. I just had a cough for 10 days. So, I love it because I was discussing this with some locals too, but like people just go have like pints in the middle of the day.
Damn.
And one of my buddies was like, when he lived in America, he's like, when I would go have like a beer in the middle of the day, people thought I was crazy and an alcoholic.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we don't like think that. It's just like, I don't know. We want to stay like focused and in the zone. Like beer makes me sleepy. I would just go to bed afterwards. So, but super casual drinking culture. If you didn't know this about, you know, the UK, England, London, super casual drinking culture. Every pub I went to in the afternoon would literally be packed by like 3 p.m. I'm like, yo, y'all work here?
I know. I'm like,
I mean, people say the same about us all the time.
But on a different...
Yeah, exactly. This is what got me the most, and I figured this out while I was at a club in Brixton my first week there. And like, Trizzy doesn't drink much, but like a double shot in the UK is literally a single shot in the US. it's like a little less than 2 ounces. Like, but they were pushing every bar you go to in London was like, double shot. I'm like, who's trying to get this messed up? Like, why are you trying, like, a double shot in the US would put you to bed so fast. And I'm like, they never promote double shots in the US because that's almost like 4 ounces.
Yeah.
But in the UK, the sizing for a shot is different.
Gotcha.
And the pricing made sense too. And I remember when I was getting like single shot drinks in the UK, I was like, what is this, water? Like, this just tastes like melted ice. There's no alcohol in here. I'm like, I'm wasting my money, wasting my pounds. So
if I wanted to impress people, my drinking ability in London, I'll be like, double shot,
please. Double shots all around.
Double shot and done, though.
And if you don't know this called Sprite lemonade, which kills me because I've been... I know, it's tough because then I'm like, what do you call lemonade then?
Right.
I don't remember what they call lemonade. But I was dealing with that when I was like in Peru and throughout Argentina and Colombia too. And I was like, who? What? And so when I get there, the funniest story, I literally get there and I'm not even kidding. It's Monday. I go on a 13-hour bender with my friend Luke and his friend Steve. Like a bender. We go to breakfast at a pub. Mm-hmm. I'm not even kidding. It turned into 13 days. 13 days,
girl.
It turned into 13 hours straight of drinking. And like everyone I tell this story to, they're like, yeah, like that sounds pretty typical. I'm like, y'all just go on benders on Tuesdays and just like forget about everything else. Like that's what you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, culture's kind of like drinking all day. Like the ease of public transport, I'm just so jealous because you don't have to worry about driving. You don't have to worry about drunk driving. You don't worry parking, valet, traffic. How long is it going to get you? Where are you going to put in your car? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. All the things we got to worry about in LA in particular.
Do they get like the LA characters on the tube there? You know what I'm talking about when I say LA characters?
What? No. Like what? Venice Boardwalk?
Basically, yeah. Like people who are just, characters.
I saw some like
Walmart
late night characters. But that's about it. They were just like asking for money and that's about it. So nothing really out of the ordinary, gotcha. Actually. Yeah.
Not like something you would see on
No,
Walmart,
actually,
basically.
no.
Okay.
No, I did see one guy. I thought this was actually pretty funny because like I paid, obviously every single time I went in I paid, but this guy straight up, it was so busy in the tube and like security's literally not paying attention. He walks over to the side gate, a random like civilian walks over to the side gate, lifts up the lock from the bottom, walks through and just continues walking.
No way.
And like I'm born and raised Catholic, so I have a guilty AF conscience, so I could never not pay the £4 to get on the train. I just couldn't. But this man was like so confident in security degaff, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, the huevos on this man. Like
interesting.
Yeah. So going out culture it was just so much fun. But like everyone everyone is like, oh, I just went out for a long time. I'm like, yeah, it's classic. Like just going out for 2 days straight. I'm like, I could never back home.
Yeah, same.
So the meat of the trip, because I thought, we both thought it was interesting that I would go and work remotely, right, while I was there. I didn't want to leave my clients high and dry for like 17 days. I don't know, going out every day is not sustainable. And so honestly, if I wasn't working, that's what I'd be doing.
Right.
Going out every single day. Like not even just partying, but just like being out and about and like just, probably spending a lot of money and eating a lot of food. And so I decided that I was there for like 2 full weeks and I would work the first half of each week. And because I would stay on East Coast time, even though I live on the West Coast, and then I'd be in Greenwich time, I think that's what it's called over in the UK. I would be working weird hours in the UK, so I'd be working 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Damn.
Which sucks. Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, I'll just do the first half of the weeks, because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not much is going on.
Yeah.
And I wanted like guaranteed Wi-Fi and a good place to concentrate, and I didn't want to depend on hostel Wi-Fi, especially with dozens of other people trying to use it, So I opted to buy day passes to a co-working space.
Which is awesome.
Which was so dope. And by now you would have seen the reel on my Instagram and my TikTok about Second Home. Shout out to Second Home. They were amazing. And I was specifically looking for a co-working space that was open 24/7, but also had day passes. So I was looking for like a unicorn. Which is tough to find, but I figured like in a big city like London, I'm like, there should be something like this. And luckily Second Home has 4 locations in the city, and the Spitalfields one, which is the OG location, was open 24/7. Yeah. And so I bought day passes. They were about £25 a day, which is about $35 US, but there's showers, lockers, full on like Malin and Goats toiletries. So like shampoo, soap, conditioner. They had hair dryers. They also had unlimited coffee and tea with oat milk.
Damn.
I know, oat milk and regular creamer. And those were like the perks of everything. You could print for free if you wanted to. Nice. Obviously the Wi-Fi. And tons of spaces to sit throughout the building. So
damn, you could have just stayed there.
I know. I was thinking, I was like, oh, I could shower here, but I kept showering at like the gym instead.
Oh, got you.
But it was a really good. I was glad that I purchased it because I did have to host a couple events while I was there, and so I'm glad that I was able to find a quiet nook in the space. There's 4 floors. Nice. And that I was able to, you can bring food in if you want to, and the fact that I was able to, have strong dedicated Wi-Fi. Also, it seemed like everyone while I was working there, no one was working international hours. So like literally after 6 p.m. it'd be a ghost town, which was kind of creepy. But we had 24/7 reception, right? Okay. And when it got to late, like after 8 p.m. they brought in a security guard as well. Okay. So I felt safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for the most part, after 6 p.m., it was literally just
it was
you?
Dead. Yeah, it was me.
Wow.
And I was like, this is so weird. I'm like, for such a big international city, and like in these times where everyone's working remote, I was like, there is no one working on U.S. hours here. It's just me. So it was like Kevin in Home Alone just running up and down the floors, being like, is anyone here? No, just me. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Second Home. There's also a location in West Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
It's a beautiful building.
Wow.
I know. I want to show it to you, but check out the reel I have. It explains all the perks. It's great.
So nice.
Yeah. And I think working remotely too. So on those days that I worked 2 to 10 p.m., which is not ideal for exploring, what I decided to do was like maybe walk a neighborhood, like not do anything too far from work, but I would like walk throughout certain neighborhoods. I'd go grab brunch at places I wanted to try, go have coffee. Some days I would go to spin class in the gym.
Yeah, Leah did exercise, eat, explore in London, and I'm so happy she did that. That was awesome.
Yep. I was very proud of myself. I was like, I'm going to make my co-hustler proud. And I have Class Pass, which was just recently bought out by Mind Body, but they're still operating the same as of right now. So Class Pass is a network of gyms that you can go to around the world. And I love that. It works in London. So I went to like a One Rebel spin class. Oh my gosh, this studio is elite. You would have loved. There's like a full on like hair salon in the studio, like top notch showers. Like it was just so much fun. It was so beautiful. And then I also went to like a Digme fitness class as well, and they do all kinds of fitness classes at Digme Fitness. Like they have yoga and whatnot, and each one had like a smoothie bar, and it was just a lot of fun, like walking to the gym, like a local, like walking to the gym before work, like being with all the other Londoners. Like it just felt really cool. Yeah. But and I spent one day that I didn't buy a day pass to Second Home, which is my co-working space. I spent it working in a cafe in the back of a church, a stunning church. It's called Host Cafe in St. Aldemary's Church, and is like in central London. And I also have a super cool reel on my Instagram and my TikTok.
Gorgeous.
About that. Yeah. And like, if you've been following me on LA in Flight, you know that I try to kind of look for more unique places to work rather than your typical Starbucks. Like I'll find places that convert into wine bars, or places in the back of a church, or places that you wouldn't really necessarily think to go work from, just because anyone can go work at a Starbucks or a Coffee Bean. But I kind of like finding those hidden gems, and they're usually very local, right? They're not a chain.
So cool.
Yeah. And so working remotely, I thought, it was interesting, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I also didn't do it the whole time.
Yeah.
On the days I wasn't working, I was literally out all day. I'd come home, change, and go out all night.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was exhausting.
Were your clients aware that you were in London?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they absolutely were.
Yeah.
I just shifted my hours a bit.
Gotcha.
For accommodations, I felt like I really switched it up on this trip. I mean, the first 2 weeks I stayed in hostels. Like the first 10 days I was in Wombats, which is great. It's a massive operation. Definitely a lot of long-term stays there. And I got a discount for booking in a 6 dorm bed for like more than 8 days. There was only one other guy in there that was there for a while, and to be honest, like, he smelled really bad, so I kept the windows open the whole time, no matter how cold it got.
So even in sleeping situations, the dorms are never there. It's a co-ed space.
Yeah, unless you book like a female dorm,
Gotcha.
an all-female dorm, which I've come to love even more and more these past few weeks because I've moved into a few of them.
Nice.
Or I've stayed in a few before, but I stayed in one recently as well.
Nice.
Excuse me. And then so after that, for some reason, I thought I wanted to stay in a party hostel after that. So I moved to St. Christopher's, which was not the move because by then I had developed this cough, which was not COVID. But it was like, why did I think I wanted to stay in a party hostel when I've been partying so hard that I made myself sick?
Yeah.
And so I went to the party hostel, not partying at all. I was like out with friends. I was very like, this trip, I was out with friends that I knew from in and around London the entire time. Like, people came from out of town to visit me from Nottingham and Bristol. It was so nice.
Aww.
But I really was I was like not trying to make friends in the hostel. Which is so, like, unlike me. And I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting these social hostels. But I was like, why did I move into a social hostel? I don't even want to be social. I wanted to be social with my current friends. Like, I didn't want to meet new people. I was like, I have so many plans already.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to meet new people. Which sounds, like, weird. But I'm like, why am I doing this? And so by I think, like, the third to last night, I was still hacking up a lung. It wasn't COVID. I was staying in a 4-bedroom dorm with 3 other guys, and they all honestly smelled like caca, and they kept closing the window at night, and it was like there was like condensation. It was so freaking hot in the room, and I was like, I kept coughing, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I want my own space. I want my own, my own place to just hack up a lung, control the temperature.
Yeah.
And so I ended up moving into a hotel. The Z Hotel is a little chain throughout the UK, and I absolutely loved it. And at that point, I was ready to pay any amount. But I spent the last 2 nights in a really nice, really small 10 by 10 hotel. It was really cute. Like, my own bathroom, bed. That's all you need. And a TV, right? Could lower the temperature, and it was like $175 for 2 nights.
Okay.
Not too bad and it was the middle of London, like next to Trafalgar Square.
That's total with taxes and fees.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was like a Sunday, Monday night, so like the cheapest nights of the week. But honestly, like, I actually loved it so much. It was like so cute and boutique that I became a member of the chain, and now I want to stay at the Z Hotels whenever I go to the UK.
The Z Hotel.
But as far as like accommodation, I mean, like, I knew I wanted to do hostels. I did not expect to move myself into a hotel. But if you're just going to London, I know I said this wasn't really an episode for first timers to London, but if you're going there for the first time, like central London, places like Soho, Bayswater, Notting Hill, Camden, Shoreditch, these are all the really popular neighborhoods to stay in London. Look at those places first if you're looking for a place to stay. And keep in mind, London is a very expensive city. You will find a range of hotels, but a lot of them are on the more expensive side if you do not book in advance. And a Saturday night in London will run you, I don't know, like £500 for a hotel room, which is why I moved on the Sunday instead of the Saturday.
Damn.
As well. Yeah, because I could not afford a Saturday night in a hotel in London, so I stayed in my smelly hostel. But yeah, it's super easy booking or book direct. Like we said a few episodes ago, booking direct is usually the way to go. But that is accommodation and unique experience. Like we said earlier, this really was a trip for me, like an extended trip to hang out with friends. I felt like I was taking my activities from pre-COVID in LA of like going out, being with friends, eating a lot of good food, and just moving them to London for half of a month. Like since this is my 3rd time, I wasn't being really touristy. I've seen all of the monuments, a lot of the monuments, not every single one. I've been to a lot of the museums. I'm like, I just felt like I didn't need to do that this time around. Exactly. But some of the cool, unique experience I did do, like the more local things. I went to 2 different Westfield malls for Kate's.
They got Westfield malls out there?
Yeah, for Kate's pop-up stores, because my friend is an artist and her art is being featured at these pop-up stores for the holidays, which is cool. So I went to help support her at the pop-up openings. Amazing. So on 2 different Westfield malls on the opposite sides of town. I went to Hampstead Heath, which is a super cute small town that our friend Denise recommended. I saw a couple reels on it, and Trizzy loved this story, but it started raining, so I popped into a pub when I got there, and I actually ended up drinking and eating fish and chips with 2 like adorable little old grandpas for the 3 hours I was there, and I had to be back that night because I was going to Brixton, so I had to go back to the hostel, change, head down to Brixton for dinner and the club, and so I didn't have time to actually explore Hampstead Heath. Instead, I spent the entire 3 hours inside a pub drinking with 2 old grandpas retelling their life stories.
That is adorable.
Yeah, it was really fun. Aww. It was a lot of fun. It was an afternoon well spent.
That would happen to you in London, right?
London,
I feel like that's the thing to do.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, hanging out in a pub for a few hours, right?
Yeah.
Maltby Street Market in Bermondsey, which is just south of the river. It's this cute little alleyway with food vendors, but like it's not massive like Borough Market or Spitalfields Market. It's not these huge food halls. It's a very, very small alleyway with maybe like 6 to 7 vendors, but packed, delicious, and there's a couple other like wine bars around it. So I thought that was really cute. Good thing that like the locals usually only know. Local spin gyms. We talked about this earlier. It was really cool to be able to use ClassPass. I went to a Chinese food place that still was cash only. The one place I used cash in all of London, it's called Silk Road in Camberwell. I went with friends. Is poppin'. I don't know how we got a reservation at 8 p.m. on a Friday night, but Ibby did it. I went with Ibby.
Aw, nice.
Yeah, and his friends, his Parisian friends, his girlfriend and his friend from Paris. So, awesome. That was a ton of fun. So yeah, just like these tiny little unique experiences, like places I would never go to if I was just a tourist. I didn't know anyone in London. I would have never thought to go to these places. Right. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really like just hung out with friends and did what they wanted to do, you know? So to wrap all of this up, I am all about slow travel. LA in Flight is about that slow travel, but I am blessed and privileged enough to be able to slow travel. I know a lot of people do not have those circumstances. So, what I'm able to spend an extended amount of time in a place, and my wish for you, anyone that's listening, is that you get the opportunity to do that if you can. Like, don't be so quick to rush through a country, to rush through different cities. Like, I recommend, and I know this is not feasible, so it's kind of tough to say this because it's like I can tell you all this all you want, but like if your workplace or employer doesn't allow it, it's a little bit harder. And we're hoping in the future to bring people on, experts on, to coach people on how they can ask maybe their managers or bosses for more time to work remotely or work abroad and whatnot. But I like to recommend trying to spend like 7 to 10 days in one place. Yeah. Like, I know that sounds so long, and you can cut it short if you hate it, but like, how do you really know how a place functions if you only see it for a weekend? Definitely. I feel like the weekend is what's it called? The version of it that's like not real life. Do you know what I mean? Right. A weekend, like you want to see it on the weekdays, the work days too. So London for me, 17 days there was a perfect opportunity to, live like a local, go to the gym, try these markets I never would have gone to, literally stumble upon Filipino food places. That's awesome. Utilize public transport at all hours of the day. It was so great between like 1 and 3 p.m. when there's no one on public transport. So nice. And really just spend quality time with my friends. Like I said, I had friends come out from like 2 hours away by train also, and friends that were in town from different parts of the country, and it was just so good being able to be in a massive city where people could easily take the train in, and we could reconnect after not seeing each other for 3 years, after 5 years. So this trip was really near and dear to my heart. Didn't do really anything touristy, but it was just such a great, 2.5 weeks in London.
And you got to meet our travel friends in real life.
I did. I got to meet, Andrea from All the Shit I've Learned Abroad. I got to meet Ibby. Tales of a Traveler podcast. I got to meet a lot of my Instagram friends who are based in London. I was so happy. I got to meet some of my friends that they've known forever, and so really expanded my network, and it was just so exciting seeing new places.
That's so dope.
Yeah, so that is my takeaway. Try to spend as long as you can in one city to really discover it, and I really hope this episode inspired you to see different parts of London, different parts of the UK, or just, find joy and fulfillment at home when you think it may not be the best tourist destination. I guarantee you there's things that you or someone else will appreciate. So thanks for listening to London.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. If you love travel as much as we do, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, as well as anywhere you listen to podcasts such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Pocket Casts. Thank you all for your support so far. When you have the time, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love to hear your thoughts and feedback, and it'll help others come across our episodes and hopefully be inspired to travel and adventure anywhere.